G'day, I'm Andy from HorseRecords, and I'm on the Online Prosperity Show. In this coming episode, you'll learn how I have combined software engineering and the horse world to create the best horse software in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga. Let me tell you, I think today we've got a treat lined up for you. You know, in the vast wilderness of the internet, we often stumble upon rare gems. And I think today we're stuck on pure gold. So giddy up and settle up, because our guest, Andy Ide, is not your typical software engineer. Oh, no. He's the brains behind HorseRecords, the software that's actually galloping its way through the horse husbandry world. Now, Andy, how are you doing, my man?
Oh, I'm good, thanks, Prosper. Thanks for having me on, and g'day to all the watchers and the listeners.
Absolutely. I think everybody else is going to be excited about what you're bringing to the table, because what does software have to do with horses?
Well, that's a good question. It turns out that when you've got horses, you need to record information about them. So if you can imagine like the health record, so you know, for example, what medications you're taking, and that sort of thing. It's the same with horses. So horses have vaccinations you need to record. You need to know when they were done. They have farrier, which is their feet need to be trimmed every sort of 4 to 8 weeks. They need to be wormed because that helps ensure their gut health. And as you know, horses have vets. Like we have doctors, they've got vets. So you need to record what the vet has done. And that's just the basic husbandry stuff you'd have for any animal. But with horses, we like to go and perform them. We like to race them, or we will go to a show or do some eventing, or play polo with them, or polo cross, or take them out on a station somewhere and round up some cows. So we need to record what's been achieved with the animal. To, you know, just so that you know what they've done. And the other thing is you train them. So we record our training so that when you sell the horse, you can say, hey, this horse has been trained to do this, and these are the steps that have taken place. And the other thing very important in the horse world is pedigrees, which is who the horse's mum and dad are, their sire and dam, and who those parents are and those parents, because you can often get a feel for the quality of the horse from it's what they call their lines, so their ancestors. Yeah, so we've taken all that requirement that people would put in a notebook or on a whiteboard or you know, memory, and we've put that in software because unfortunately we forget things, mate, and notebooks degrade. For example, the stud that I married into has been going since the 1960s. So can you imagine a notebook from the 1960s? Where would you even find it if it hadn't degraded? But software, well, it doesn't degrade. You can always access it from wherever you are. So yeah, that's effectively what the software does, records everything about your horses. One of the exciting things is if you're doing breeding, we have a section in there where you can record. It's very important to know when the mare is ovulating so that you can serve the stallion or introduce the semen to the mare. So you need to scan it, just like when a woman is pregnant, she'll go to the doc, they'll get the ultrasound on. With mares, it's the same thing, and with the software enables you to record where the mare is on their ovulation process, so you know how to breed them. And then you, over the years, you get a history to say, right, we know what this mare does, and you know, they might ovulate every 21 days rather than 23, which changes when you can introduce a stallion and that sort of thing. So that's just sort of one part of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to cancel the rest of the show because I thought software for horses was literally to measure horsepower, but you've literally opened it all up,
Yeah.
out in the open there. Now we've got a whole brand new look and feel to what the horse world is actually like. But this
Yep.
is not something you were born into. You literally took horse husbandry, in the literal sense of it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got yourself knee deep in the world of horses.
Yeah, well, it wasn't my fault.
It
I
never is, is
never is. I'm a software engineer by training. My first business I ran was building websites in the early 2000s. And then I got more and more interested in the programming side of it rather than the graphic design side. And since then I worked professionally as a software engineer. And then as these stories often go, I met a pretty girl and ended up marrying her. And her family has the oldest stock horse stud in South Australia. My mother-in-law now, set it up in the 1960s. It's been going strong ever since. And so for my sins, I'm in the horse world now. I'm what they call a horse husband, which horse people know what that means. It means I fix fences and don't complain. And one day my wife was a bit frustrated because she was looking for some notes on a horse, and she couldn't find them. And she said, "Hey, can you code something online so that I can have my notes online whenever I want them on my phone or whatever?" And being a husband and a strapper who actually listens and does what their horse girl tells them, I coded up a software we used for our stud for a few years, and then my wife convinced me that other people could use this software. So I took the learnings that we had from running our stud of 30 horses with tens of thousands of horses in our pedigrees, took the learnings from running that and then rebuilt HorseRecords to be a multi-tenanted, i.e. multi-user piece of software. And we've just gone great guns. We launched in May 21. So we're coming up on 3 years. And it's been amazing, the different people. When I coded the software, I thought, well, we're a stock horse stud, so we care about breeding. We care about the stock horse related events. But I thought I knew that my customers were not all stock horse breeders. There's different breeds of horses, like quarter horse, which is the American working horse, Arabs, thoroughbreds, of course, which is your racehorse. Then you've got your Shetlands and your different ponies and, Appaloosas, and you can just go on and on and on. And then you've got all your different, what they call disciplines, which is what we do with the horse. So racing is the obvious discipline everybody knows. But there's cross-country racing, there's endurance. Endurance is like marathons for horses. And one funny thing about that is you ride this horse over this marathon, and if you have to go up a hill, the riders will often hop off the horse, grab its tail, and have the horse pull them up the hill. Well, anyway, there's some of the fittest guys out there. Polo cross, and all the Western events like reining, which is those fast stops. You see where they do those fast stops and all the dust goes everywhere. It's all very dramatic. And then you got showing. So I coded the software to be customizable because I didn't know what a particular customer would want, but I knew they would want it all. So I've got horse trainers using it. I've got horse breeders using it. I've got showies using it. I've got polo people using it. I've got an AI stud using it. And I've got a polo stud in New South Wales using it as well. And it all just works because I've aimed for being customizable within the niche of horse ownership.
Absolutely. And, just listening to you talking, you would think you were born in a stable. You have the lingo down packed and everything else. What was the
you got to Yeah, they see you coming if you're not using the right words.
Oh, well, absolutely. I can, right now, obviously, if I would go in there, I'd be like, so yeah, that's the horse, right? And that's all I know. It's
That's the food end. That's
horsepower.
the not food end.
Yeah. Oh, you see, now you've got it all down packed. And obviously coming in from, a software sort of world, that's a whole world where people really need to be nose on the grind to understand nuances and new things that are coming in. So you are constantly learning all about the software and also learning the natural, feel of being a horse husband, as you call yourself.
Yeah,
Has
yeah,
been a learning curve in both sort of dimensions up until you've brought together this very, very beautiful piece of software.
yeah, very much so. It's a real to have a technology background and going into the horse world it's a really good mix, and in some ways because it's so niche, the competition it's easy to be seen. Like there's not as much competition as you would think, particularly in Australia.
I'll tell you, you're the only horse software person I've ever met in my entire life, and I think for the next 10 years there's not going to be another one unless
not too many, mate.
video and thinks, wait a minute, I could actually do something like that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, most of the software, like most of my competitors, I don't even really pay too much attention to them because they're often quite niche. So my software is very comprehensive and broad. I'm trying to do all aspects of horse care, where the other softwares, like there's one just for breeding and there's one just for training, where I've got all of that in my software. So I'm sort of a lot more comprehensive, I believe, than some of the other players in the field. And also being, nearly 3 years, I'm relatively new. So I'm using a lot of, what's the word? I'm using the current techniques for building the software rather than some old desktop application they struggle with. So it means that wherever you can get a web browser, you can get my software. So desktop, laptop, tablet, phone, however people want to use it, it can be used rather than some of the older software, which is just an application on your computer. So I think that's a benefit. Yeah.
Absolutely. You see, some people in the digital space always aspire to, work around the beach and, just be, without like a location and things like that. But we've soon discovered that all of that requires a whole different skill set because so much sand goes onto your computer, and so much glare goes onto the computer screen and things like that. Now I'm envisioning Andy going around horses with his laptop trying to sort out a software, and you're supposed to be shoveling hay and things like that. So how do you find time for the both things, because these are equally taxing and they literally require a whole full day within a day to learn all there is to learn about software and horses all at the same time?
Well, yeah, I mean, work-life balance is pretty important to me. Being on a stud, my weekends are effectively stud work. So I'm not so much training the horses myself. My wife does that. I fix fences and put in water pipes and, fix things. There's a saying in the horse world, as soon as your horse thinks you've got a little bit too much money in your wallet, it'll run through a fence so it can see the vet again. So yeah, basically I make my weekends pretty much get the farm going, and then during the week I do the work. Horse people, interestingly enough, you don't contact them first thing in the morning because they're feeding out, and you don't contact them late afternoon because they're feeding out usually. So, I learned pretty quickly the best time to contact horse people is, in the middle of the day, because You know, they're usually having lunch or something like that. But yeah, it's sort of understanding that about your customers as well. There are some customers who want to chat on the weekends. I try and minimize that if I can. But sometimes you just have to be flexible. I try, Prosper, to do what my customers kind of want. So if a customer says, oh, I really need this particular tool in managing my horse information, being a programmer, I can go, yeah, no worries. And I know the complexity required and I can just code it. So I'm moving fairly fast. There's not a layer of an account manager or a customer service person or something who doesn't really understand, and then the software has to get approved, the new feature has to get approved and all that. There's nothing like that. You know, people, when they talk to me, they're talking to the programmer who actually puts his fingers on the keyboard to actually write the code. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, work-life balance, you've got to be aware of it and careful of it. And I certainly am. Yeah, I just try and split it. Yeah.
I like that, you know, because at the end of the day, you present a very unique offering where you speak their language, you understand the ins and outs and the day-to-day activities, and also what it is that they need within a software, which is not like somebody who's guessing from the outside, trying to look in, and who doesn't quite get the nuance of what you're doing. I think that's the reason why.
Yeah, and you can see it a mile away.
Yeah.
Like the horse world sort of has their own language. And when I first started marketing, I had a marketing company and they were marketing to horse people much like you would market a consumer product like wine. They had a lot of wine clients, and it never really hit the mark. It just didn't land. And then I found a marketing company that specialize only in horses. So they only deal with horse brands. And this, even though you couldn't really know what words they were using different, it hit differently. And they're talking to horse people at the level that horse people want to know. Horse people are a very pragmatic group of customers. I think it comes down to you. It's pretty hard to be a princess when you muck out stables, you know. And you know, the horse doesn't care if you've got software or not. And yeah, so horse people, they're very pragmatic and they absolutely adore their horses. They love their horses so much. They're the two main things. And yeah, I think someone coming from the outside of the horse world trying to code software would really struggle. They just miss the mark. Unfortunately, it's not like other industries that I've coded for in the past. You sort of have to be in it really to code for horse folk.
Absolutely. And I quite like, you know, when we were looking you up, you're also really immersed with all the equine groups online, and you're understanding what they're talking about, what they're trading, what they're told, you know, how they are engaging with each other. And, you know, you're also actually starting to offer your expertise within these communities, and that really is an endearing part, because our customers are always looking for people that can help them, you know, have a happier existence or a profitable business. Now, how has sort of offering your expertise within these communities sort of contributed to actually the growth of your business overall?
Yeah, so I think people always like having an IT software type guy around, and they want to be able to ask that quick question. And while I am in some entrepreneur groups for horse people, and I tend to talk, I don't talk about HorseRecords directly, but I will talk about things related to IT, particularly things like ChatGPT, other AI tools out there. That sort of thing, because people are trying to work out how to use that to create their social posts and their marketing. Some of the prompts I've found for image generation I'll put there. And then people, I'm sure, say, who is this guy? And they'll look me up, and on my profile it says founder of HorseRecords, and they go, oh, HorseRecords. And then, so it's more of I don't do it to flog HorseRecords. I do it to help the folk. And indirectly, I get customers. And those customers that come indirectly from helping those people tend to be quite strong leads, because they've come and they've hunted you down, and they already have that trust and that knowledge. Plus, it's fun. I love things, particularly the AI boom that's happening at the moment, is just amazing. And I love telling people how AI can be used in their business in perhaps ways that they're not particularly aware of. You know, and they find that useful, and it's good to give back, because, you know I can go on those groups and ask any sort of horse question. For example, I'm developing a gift card facility where people can buy a gift card and use that as a gift. And I went on to one of these groups and say, hey, what do you guys look for in a gift card? You know, and they said, oh, we'd like to be sent reminders when it's due to expire so that we can use it. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And someone said, e-cards are great, but I still want to be able to print it out. And I'm like, okay, that's no worries. And he said, but I still want to have it posted. Even though everyone uses e-cards and they get emailed, I want it posted. And I'm like, okay, well, so I've got a facility that I'm coding where I will print it out and I will post it. And that helps that customer. It gets that customer what they want. So yeah, it is give and take in these groups, but I try and give more than I take. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was Zig Ziglar that mentioned, if you help enough people get what they want, then you literally get what you want, because all these people, like you say, there's a certain scope that, you go into the horsing world. They know it like the back of their hand, because it's an extension of who they are. Whereas when it then comes to computers, they usually have very thick fingers, which will not be able to actually type in there. And it's not their fault. They really have to rein in their horses and things like that. So that just creates that sort of imbalance. But you've made a shift from looking at, direct to customer, and you're now working with B2B sort of, clientele. Now, could you maybe walk us through that?
Yeah, so
and what
definitely
you've learned along the way?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So when I first started HorseRecords, I thought, okay, my customers are going to be horse owners, and I'll go to shows and I'll sponsor some events and everyone will buy my product. But what I found was that racing associations have equine welfare programs in place for retired racehorses. So when like a racehorse usually only runs for a few years, and then they sort of get too old and the younger horses will beat them. So when a horse, it depends, so 5, 6, whatever. When a horse gets to a certain age, they can't keep the pace up. Just like you, Prosper, when you were 20, you could run a lot faster than you probably can now. And it's the same with me. So, but there is a moral obligation in my thinking that these horses need to be carefully find their new owner and their next career, because even though a horse isn't good for racing, they might be great for eventing or showing or polo. So I found out about this. They're called off the track or retired racehorses. And I went and spoke to Racing South Australia and said, hey, I've got this software. I want to give it for free to every new off-the-track owner of an off-the-track horse. And my hope is they get it for free, they'll love it, and then they'll become a paying customer. And if they don't, that's fine. I know that the horse has been given all the tools needed to have the most ethical care for the rest of its life. So Racing SA thought that was a great idea. So these days, when you get an off-the-track racehorse, you might get a rug, you get a nutrition consult because you're moving from a racing diet to a paddock diet. If you can imagine an Olympic class athlete and what they eat, the sheer amount of calories they consume, and then they quit their sport and they just get a day job. You need to ramp them down in the right way so that they don't get colic and sick and they don't get fat or thin or whatever. And then Racing SA added HorseRecords as the software, the tracking software that they offer to new owners. And that was great. I started to get a lot of customers joining, and I thought, well, SA isn't the only place with horses. So now I went to the other racing associations. I've got Racing WA, Racing Northern Territory, and Racing Queensland. And the other states, I'm fairly deep in conversation with them, and we're just organising some things. And I hope that one day every off-the-track horse in Australia will get access to my software for free. And I'm doing my bit, and then I'm starting to look at other countries, such as New Zealand, the US, the UK. And the way I'm doing that is that business to business. The Racing Association is kind of doing the work for me in finding the customers, just because they're doing that anyway when they find a new owner for these horses. So it's great. These race horses, they don't get put in a back paddock for the rest of their life. You never see them again. They're all out performing, doing dressage, eventing. You can go down to any showgrounds and there'll be retired racehorses there. And it's not just thoroughbreds, which is the races we all know, but it's also standardbreds, which are the ones that pull the cart behind them. So the harness horses. So it's those as well that I'm doing. And looking at any other type of association where the horses sort of end their career and need to start a new one. So yeah, that's a lot of fun, and getting a lot of customers that way. It's been really good.
I can imagine, and I'm really excited that obviously you're now expanding HorseRecords internationally, because there's a lot of horses out there in the world that may not be receiving the utmost care or tracking that is required in order for them to have a happier existence. Now, what's the best way now that people could maybe get a hold of you or try out this software? And if they're interested in learning about what HorseRecords can do for them.
Yeah, definitely. So the website is horserecords.info, and it's all one word. And so you can go there. There's a free plan you can try. You get 2 horses for free. So you can enter them in, put in their names, upload some photos, and upload some details. And if you've got more than 2 horses, there's plans that go up. They're quite cheap. The first plan is $12 a month for 7 horses. And then it's something like $20 odd a month for 25 horses, which is a pretty big operation. Now, a bag of feed, $30-40 for one bag of feed. And how long's that last you? I think we're priced pretty competitively in the market. But yeah, you can try it for free. I'm on the Facebook. My contact details are on the site. You can email me or chat on the phone. I'm happy to have a chat. Particularly if you want help with a particular aspect of your horses you're trying to track, or if you feel that you've got a sub-discipline or speciality within a discipline that you need, I can certainly have a chat and we can talk about the features we've got for you and what I can code up to help you out.
Fantastic. I'll make sure that all those details are in the show notes so that people can actually get a hold of the trial, because I think that would be a good thing for them to literally start recording performance and also the veterinary and maybe whatever it is that is needed for horses. I didn't even know horses needed a chiropractor. So the things that you sort of come across when you get into
chiropractic in horses is interesting because they have to be a human chiropractor, and then they've got to know horses. So our chiropractor for our horses, he used to be a show jumper. Not a show jumper who wears the mankini, not that one, but he was a different show jumper, and he trained as a chiropractor for humans. And then he took his knowledge and he will go down and to the racetrack at 5 a.m. in the morning and do chiropractic on all the horses. And yeah, you can really see the difference in how they move after they've had an adjustment. But yeah, I didn't know that I didn't know horses had chiropractors. I did not know that when I first started, but yeah, they do. They got body workers. There's people who do massage. My God, it's pretty funny in the horse world that a horse often gets more care on their body than the actual owner.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, Andy, you've done so much, entrenching yourself into the horse world, and also pioneering in a space where you've combined both of your loves. I mean, obviously, your love for software and the love of your wife, and you've gotten yourself involved in, this software that you're now creating. It must have been maybe a little bit difficult for you to fit in, or obviously for you to sort of stand out. Would that have been the reason why there was a story of you having jumped onto the scene wearing a mankini on horseback? And was that you trying to claim your space within this whole territory? I mean, the software is good enough, Andy.
Yeah, that wasn't me. No one wants to ever see me in a mankini. But yeah, there was a show jumper this week who an Olympic show jumper who, as a bit of fun at a costume show, put on a mankini and ran around, and yeah, that hit the news a bit. So good on him. But yes, that wasn't me, Prosper. I can assure all your listeners and watchers, it was indeed not me. No one wants to see that.
Now I'm gonna have to fire my whole team, because the reason we put you on the show today was we wanted to be the first to present to the world the Mankini software horse Olympic show jumper. But I think we got the wrong person. But it's a
wrong guy.
It's a good thing we got the horse husband here, and yeah, you've really opened up Pandora's box, especially when it comes to what it takes to literally just be in the horsing and racing sort of world. Now, you've put pixels together, you've put hay in a basket, and horses are now eating, put it together into like a software. What's next? What is on the horizon that people can now anticipate from Andy?
I think the main thing with HorseRecords is I'm pretty well known in Australia. I still need, the market's still there to be explored. But yes, my next step is indeed to expand to other countries. So I've already been chatting to Austrade and how we go about that. But yeah, it'll be New Zealand, America, UK. I do have a lead to Argentina, a lot of horses there. And then perhaps some of the Middle Eastern countries with that. But I think I'll start with the countries that speak English first, just to make it easy on me. And then, yeah, the world is my oyster. There's hundreds of millions of horses, and they all need tracking. And yeah, I'm more than happy to do that for all of them.
Absolutely. I mean, for somebody who, survived the .com era, then he survived the GFC, also survived COVID. I can only imagine.
Still here. Can't keep a good horse down.
Fantastic. I can only imagine what this sort of software would do if it actually goes into the right hands, because so many, like you say, there's so many horses around the world, and if they can actually be tracked and, people could actually have an understanding of who they are, their pedigree and everything else, we would actually start having a whole different world and perception on the horse world. So thank you for doing your part, in this whole game, and especially just really educating us, because even I didn't know a lot of the things that you spoke about today, and now I'm intrigued. I might just
yeah. Well, go on, Prosper, and make up a horse name and have a look, see if I'm any good.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that's all we have for today. What an exhilarating ride with the one and only Andy Ide, from software programmer to revolutionizing the horse husbandry scene. And I mean, obviously, Andy's journey is nothing short of inspiring. And if you want to settle up with the HorseRecords app and software, or just want to share a laugh with Andy when he's not wearing his mankini, then head over to horserecords.info. And I think you've got a offer with Agistment that people can actually get started on. Is that there's a module that you...
Yeah, so there's an adjustment module within HorseRecords. So adjustment is where you will have your horse living somewhere else. And if you're one of those people who has other people's horses that you look after, that's called adjustment. Then yeah, we have a module within HorseRecords that is specifically to help adjusters with their adjustees horses. So you can check that out, and it comes part of HorseRecords, so it's all in there. It's no extra cost.
Absolutely. Wouldn't that be nice? My little girl has always been asking for a pony, but I take her to the backyard. I take her to the backyard, and then I say a horse would not be able to fit here. But now that there's a process of somebody looking after the pony, I'm probably running out of excuses. So
Yeah.
thank you.
You're not alone, Prosper.
Absolutely. Well, now it's going to be an expensive excuse because now it only sounds best to only me. If she gets to know that there's adjustment out there, she'll be like, how about that? Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Andy, for enlightening us, especially taking us on a ride into the horse husbandry world. And for those that are watching right now, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more enriching conversations like this, because you never know where we're gonna ride to. But now we're riding into the sunset, and thank you so much, Andy, for showing us the ropes in this ride for life. Until next time, keep galloping towards prosperity. Bye for now.